This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host. I was talking to an old colleague of mine the other day, Fabio, who listens to the show. Hello, Fabio. Hi, and he was talking to me about lots of taste. He's got impeccable film taste. And you reviewed La Chimera, that Josh O'Connor movie a few weeks ago. And he was talking about that. And
what did he make of it?
Well, because as an Italian, he really found it very interesting. Yeah. And it's interesting that we would pronounce the director's name like Alice Rohrwacher. And he was like, Alice Rohrwacher. I was like, that sounds a bit more accurate. Yeah. But he was making this point that he'd heard your review of it, said, he totally gets it. But like when he was watching it obviously had English subtitles. Yeah. And as an Italian himself, he was like looking at sometimes the difference between, what was being written as a subtitle, but what was being said in Italian. And a lot of what you were describing about La Chimera is about like its dreamy quality, it's sort of mysterious. And he was like, just some of the translation is just not, it's like, it's accurate, but it's just not
the spirit of it.
It just can't capture exactly how you express that in Italian. And he was noticing that it's just inevitable. It doesn't matter. You have the best translators in the world. Yeah. It's just losing a certain quality within the remit of Italian as a language, translating it or subtitling it in English.
Famously, Japanese translation does not directly translate well at all. Like a lot of the times when corporate press conferences in Japanese are translated, and the person who's writing the article for the American audience is translating it. You're almost like, wait, how do they talk? This is like really bad English when actually the words do not directly translate, and they have words for multiple things in one word, which don't really work.
And it makes me think now, whenever we watch a film not in the English language, you kind of think, however good it is, like Anatomy of a Fall, like obviously that has a bit of English in it, but like what are we losing from this? Tiny, minute, but important details.
Speaking of translation and subtitles, I watched The Godfather Part 2 last week, right? First time watching it with a good friend of mine who was like, we need to do it. And I was like, yeah, we'd love to, 100%. Made a whole night of it. That's a 3.5 hour film, 3 hours, 25 minutes.
And they give you an intermission in it, don't they?
There is an intermission. But so we were like, I said to my friend, it was a school night, and I was like, hey, listen, like, can't wait, but this is a 3.5 hour film. Like, I'm going to come as early as I can. And I think the film should be rolling no later than 7. Yeah. Because that's going to take me on a school night to like 10:30. Yeah. Bathroom breaks added, food just grab. Like, it's going to be a sort of potentially 4 hour commitment. Anyway, I'm just going to call out sort of this whole thing. So we Godfather Part 2 was hosted on Paramount Plus, and I was like, great, just jump straight in. And in The Godfather Part 2, if you've seen it, there's lots of it, many sequences and many lines of dialogue spoken in Italian. Yeah. And as of the original Godfather and this film, there are many throwaway lines which are not subtitled for reasons. You're not meant to hear that exchange. Well, that's meant to be in Italian, which obviously you get more out of it if you speak Italian. But as an English person who doesn't speak Italian, you are missing a few words here and there. And so the subtitles start on Paramount Plus, and I have to say they were the worst subtitles I've ever seen on a modern service. First of all, massive. Far too big.
You can't adjust the format? Because on some platforms you can adjust the way
that wasn't the only problem. So first of all, big. Also had the black background over all the text. So already it's this large black box floating on the screen. Secondly, the subtitles were moving left and right on the screen, dependent, and I think it was who was talking on stage left or camera right, and whether or not there was an object in the foreground that the subtitles decided was important and therefore shouldn't cover
AI
it.
generated kind of thing.
I got no idea, but it was inaccurate, large, jumping from left to right, and the sort of sides of the words often were cut out, so I was missing lots of lines. I have so many problems with it. Then, in The Godfather Part 2, there's many sort of lines in Italian spoke, but you jump to the first Robert De Niro sequence set in the 1920s, which is predominantly in Italian. And I'm like sort of 3 minutes into the first one, and there's no English subtitles. But there's still like mumbles in Italian. In Italian brackets, but no, and like words here and there. And I said to Amy, I was like, should we be, because in the lead up to that, there's many words spelled in Italian that have not been subtitled. And I said to Amy, I was like, should we be understanding this? And she's like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure, like, as with a lot of them, we're not meant to know what's being said. And I'm like, okay, it's been like a 4 or 5 minute scene with no subtitles. We jump on Google and see that there's this whole Reddit thread complaining about the subtitling for The Godfather Part 2 on Paramount Plus. Very annoying. Then I was like, okay, well, we now have to go back, had to stop that, source a new version of the film to go and watch. But I just want to say, sort your subtitles out. That's quite an important film to get the subtitling right.
It's quite a big debate that I often have in my family because, first of all, my brother's very big fan of watching things with subtitles on, and I'm sorry,
we agreed to leave them on because it's a very long film.
Yeah,
lots
it helps
of things.
concentration.
Might as well just keep it on. Yeah,
and I've mentioned, when I rewatched Dune this year, I watched it with the subtitles on. It really, really enriched it. You can see the script. It's something they often say in film school, like watch a film with the subtitles on, so you appreciate that. But it's true that different platforms and in the streaming world don't seem to do it as in a consistent way, and also it's a problem because fundamentally it's an accessibility issue. Yeah. And I've watched things before you just can't get subtitles, and I'm like, this is not. You're immediately eliminating a whole cross section of the audience. But I had the same thing last year. I've mentioned to you on Netflix with 3,000 Years of Longing, which was the George Miller film he made before Furiosa, which has Idris Elba talking in, I think it's like an ancient language, and you just click to play the film as normal, and really the subtitles should play for just those bits as standard, but nothing was coming up. So we had to go on and select subtitles, and we just had to have it on for the whole film just so we could understand Idris Elba's dialogue, which is substantial for the whole film.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because there will be other people who go on, less discerning film fans like us, who will watch it and just sort of go, I don't understand, I've lost half the film there. And the same thing.
So it took me 6 minutes in that scene to go, I think I should be understanding this.
And that's really, really annoying. And it's like, also when I watched All Quiet on the Western Front last year, the subtitling was also bad because it was subtitling throwaway lines that background extras would just sort of say. Yeah. And I was watching it, and then it would suddenly say, halfway through a conversation between the main characters, like, man 3, oh, watch out over there. Oh, and I'm like, what is?
Who's saying that?
What is this? It actually annoys me how sort of inconsiderate and inconsistent it is.
And I just think, as a rule, subtitles should be still in one part of the screen. Should be fairly small. I guess obviously with an option to increase the size if you're visually impaired, and should just be like not with no background on them, clean. White text, all like light yellow, lightly drop shadowed. I shouldn't really know they're there, but they're there for me if I need them. And it was just crazy that a proper streaming service is going, yep, that's ready to ship.
Also, one of its most premium products.
Yeah,
one of the best films of all time, or highly regarded. But do you want to give us your thoughts on Godfather Part 2?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to sort of jump into a big review. Other than that, I think Al Pacino is a very good actor.
He's very good.
I love the design of all the sequences with Robert De Niro, the sort of dewy sepia parchment feel of it. And just as with Godfather Part 1, both of those films, Francis Ford Coppola has an amazing sense of crowds, people's party, spectacle place that really sells the environment that those people are in. Yeah. There's something, our film's more about family than the Fast and Furious films are. But really understanding like how people come together and what it means to dishonor someone and who the dynamics are. I'm not sort of go on I enjoyed it. I prefer it to 1, I think.
Oh, really? Because I just love having Brando in the first one. I really like that. And the thing is about this, I love the second one, but last time I watched it, I thought, the De Niro thing could be its own film. Every time we went back to De Niro, I thought, this could be its own story. We don't always have to keep going back. But
it is long, by the way. I did feel the length. And having to stop like sort of 35 minutes in and reset and having to go back to see things I missed, it's kind of interrupted the service.
We're going to talk about Young Woman in the Sea later, which is the Daisy Ridley film. But that's set in the early 1900s in New York. And actually the director screened Godfather Part 2 for his crew because that's if you think about Godfather Part 2, that the De Niro scenes very accurately depicts. Well, I don't know about how accurate, I wasn't there, but beautifully depicts early 1900s New York. Immigrant families.
You'd love to run around it, wouldn't you? With a little flat cap. Oh, it'd be horrible. Yeah, but you'd love to just see the people with the cigarettes and the waistcoats. Just the life.
That's why I love old film footage, which when in like the 50s or something,
when they're staring at the front of a bus, and they're like looking at
walking
this thing.
Kind of. Welcome to episode 131 of Pulp Kitchen. Last week we talked about.
Oh my God, what was it?
We do this, don't we? We do give ourselves a little throw. We throw ourselves sometimes.
It was.
Hang on.
Like a Furiosa.
Furiosa! Last week we reviewed Furiosa. If you haven't checked out our review for that, please go back and do that. We also have some news that we are putting out this week. You'll see it on the channel.
We posted it on the feed. The future of Pulp Kitchen.
Do we want to tell them now, James?
Let's do it. Guys, please go and check out that episode in the feed, which should be live by now, where we're talking about what's happening. But We've launched a Patreon.
We're launching a Patreon.
We are very proud to say we've been spending a long time trying to figure out how we want to elevate this. George quit his job at the start of the year, ever since the start of 2024.
Because of you guys, in a positive way.
We've just been growing. We've been growing at a really great rate. We've wanted to, for a long time, find something that works to scale this. Just broad strokes are, Pulp Kitchen, as you know it, is not changing.
Stays the same.
But
you still get your episode every week, and you'll even get your bonus episodes. No problem.
We're really proud to say nothing changes. We never wanted to touch this show, but we are launching a brand new show on Patreon for members only, and it's called Double Take. Please go and check out the link in the description to go and sign up. There's also options to get this entire show, but ad-free, get priority access to emails.
Be a producer of the show.
Producer will send you a video thank you for your support. Go and listen to that thing where we talk about the future of this show. But it's really exciting.
As we say in it, we wouldn't have been able to be able to get this far and launch Patreon if we hadn't had all your support so far. So we really appreciate it. And if you want to continue to support us further, go listen to that clip and we'll talk about how you can do that.
And our new show, Double Take, we just recorded it. I'm really happy with it. It's much more unfiltered. We're talking about news, trailers, reactions.
Yep.
We've just launched our first episode. We talked all about the very divisive and frankly quite hilarious reviews of Francis Ford Coppola's new film, Megalopolis, and unpacked that. We talked about what we want from the new Alien Romulus film directed by Fede Alvarez. Do we want more of an Alien or Alien style? Why are they messing it up so much? Knives Out casting.
Knives Out 3, yeah.
What we want from Knives Out 3. And we celebrated, sort of, and unpacked the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing a show like that every single week. Go and check it out. It's a much more relaxed, unfiltered space for our sirens, our biggest fans, to connect with us. So very exciting.
So go listen to that.
Below.
Yeah, thank you so much. But this week, we're going to be doing some sort of like quick run through some reviews. We've seen Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Ride or Die.
Because it's Bad Boys 4, so therefore I want to call it Bad Boys for Life. But that was the third one, which came out in 2020. But this is Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Ride or Die.
James will also be talking about
Star Wars Acolyte.
Yes.
I've most
seen
reviewers,
2 episodes.
I got access to the first 4.
Yeah.
So lots of reviews are going live on the first 4. So I will review it with the caveat I've only seen, I think, half the series. And I promise I will finish it and give a complete review. It will now be sort of 8 weeks later because I've got to wait a few weeks for episode 5. But it will be sort of a first impressions of Star Wars Acolyte, the new show.
Yeah, we're talking about that. And also James had a junket with the director and one of the stars. If you go see that on our social channels. And I'll also be talking about Young Woman in the Sea, speaking of Star Wars, which stars Daisy Ridley as the first woman to ever swim the English Channel in the early 1920s. And we did that because we also had the opportunity to speak to the director. You can see some clips on social media from that as well. So 3 little things to run through there, and then emails and more game.
Junkets are so horses in hand.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
The whole Hugh Grant
But I
thing,
was saying to
totally.
George afterwards, like, it really is my only reference to the behind the scenes of a junket in art and culture.
Yeah.
Like that, this whole sense that you go to a very fancy hotel in the centre of London, this is Corinthia, and they've shopped out an entire floor, and in loads of rooms on one side, it's like people, galleries, monitors, things, busy, and on the other side, there's just rooms of junkets.
Well, the actual room you go into where the junket is happening is like in a crime espionage thriller where you walk into the room where they've bugged the adjacent room.
Yeah.
So you walk in, there's loads of people with headphones
everywhere. There was a girl on her laptop knelt under in fancy hotel rooms, there's like a mirror when you open it and a tiny little table to put your keys. She was like hunched under it. Wires strewn across the floor, cameras, lights, thing, and then you have to crawl through soft boxes.
Also, we're so tall that like we always have to like duck under these lights, and it's good fun though.
And literally, there's someone like we had 6 minutes, which is really not a lot of time. And like, they were really sweet. Like, I had Leslie Ellen and Manny Sinto, but they were sort of like chit chatting to me as my time started. I always want to be like, I've got 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And then immediately you just see the 3.
Yeah, you have a little PR person in the corner giving you 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute countdown, then wrap up.
And then they just say, come on, wrap it up. And you're like, God, that's already done. But it's just so horse and hound. Someone needs to make another movie about the
press
junket experience. Yeah. Junkets, a TV show. It's a quite great idea for a show, like a comedy about a journalist who interview celebrities.
Well, don't put it on the platform, James. We should talk about it discreetly. Otherwise, you give your best idea out to the public domain. Anyway, let's get on with the films. This is a quick message brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb.
So, George, a good friend of mine who I used to work with in telly is going to work on a famous reality TV show in Marbella for 2 1-week periods.
I think I know the one.
It's very exciting. She's very much looking forward to it. And I told her she should host her flat on Airbnb while she's away.
Yeah, brilliant. Of course.
Just makes sense. Like, while you're working away, set up on Airbnb, make a little bit of extra cash while you're there. Perfect, no brainer.
I know, and also like quite a nice feeling to have when you come back from an actual work trip to have a little bit of extra pocket money to put towards your actual holiday, like an actual holiday.
Absolutely,
very smart.
Yeah,
I think people forget that like I mean, we've all stayed in Airbnbs. Like, we've all done it. But, like, I think we forget that the people who host Airbnbs are just people like us. Like, you can do it yourself.
I've got a couple of holidays coming up, and I was looking at what other flats in my area are going for, and I thought I should just do this. It makes sense, especially if you do those little work trips. If you go on these little breaks away, you go, hang on, I can host my flat on Airbnb. Boom, perfect.
Also, like, your home is there. Like, you're going to be away, but your home is still there. Like, you might as well use it. If you have a home, you have an Airbnb.
Totally. If you haven't thought about it, you should look into it. And guys, your home might actually be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host.
So let's start with Bad Boys Ride or Die, or Bad Boys 4 if you've been following the franchise, which I haven't. This is the first Bad Boys movie I've seen, but we got invited to the screening.
You've not seen Bad Boys 2?
Thank you very much. James has seen
1 and 2, but
and
you know, when 2 was on Sky in the noughties, and then I could not tell you a single thing that happens in those films apart from like sort of, they're like a buddy cop duo, and they're hard and badass, but also like domestic and middle class.
It was 2 Michael Bay movies originally. I think they were kind of like, defined by, again, saying it as someone who's not seen it, but just aware of how they stand in the cultural canon. You know, over the top Michael Bay production values with violence that's slightly nasty, not afraid to have a little bit of blood, a bit of shooting.
And it's sort of one of the films you can point to as the tentpoles of Michael Bay popularizing his style of anamorphic, that sort of parallax circular thing that he obviously did loads of the Transformers, cool, sweaty, sun-kissed, lens flare.
Yeah.
That style really...
This shit just got real.
This shit just got real. Now we gotta go do this.
Yeah.
Chain, vest,
Will Smith,
gun.
Martin Lawrence. Anyway, so then that was in the early noughties. Then it was kind of like on ice for like years. And then they made a third one, a reboot essentially, or like it's a sequel. So it's a third one. But belated in 2020, which on Wikipedia is called the 4th highest grossing film of 2020. But I think given that only 4 films came out in 2020, it's hardly a thing
all
to
the shops were
celebrate.
closed and we couldn't leave our homes as well. Yeah.
But that was a success at the box office. And now we have 4 years later, Bad Boys Ride or Die, directed by a directing duo who go by Adil and Bilal, who also directed the previous one and were the directing duo behind the Batgirl movie that got shelved. Do you remember that as a tax write-off a few years ago? Hugely controversial. Will Smith is Mike, Martin Lawrence is Marcus. I'd never seen a Martin Lawrence film. That's why I realised when I was watching this, I was like, I've never watched... Funny enough, James, I haven't sat down and watched Big Mama's House.
Or the sequel.
Or do you remember The Black Knight? That was the other thing he was in.
No.
Anyway, I've never seen a Martin Lawrence film. This was the first time. He's
many,
the funny one. Will Smith's the more serious one.
They're
funny,
cops. But Martin Lawrence's got that very expressive face.
Yeah, he does.
What the?
Stuff's going down. Basically, Will Smith's getting married to a woman 20 years younger than him.
Stakes, consequences.
And but then suddenly they are. The tagline is they're like on the run. They've been framed for something, but they didn't do it. So it's ride or die, which is, by the way, is an expression that's very American. I've never really understood what that means.
We'll ride or die. Yeah. No.
Ride or die means I think I'm by your side. I'm with you to the end.
Yeah.
But it's not like no one says that here.
No.
I had to, the first time I heard it in a song.
We'd say I'm die hard for that. More likely to say that.
But that also doesn't, that ride or die is something you'd say like to a friend or a buddy, but like, I'm your ride or die, man.
Ride or die.
I'm with you.
Ride or die. It's more American. Yeah.
It's like there's only 2 options: ride with you or die with you. I think.
I think it's like we either do this or we come back on our shield. You know.
Yeah.
It's ride or die.
Anyway, so we went to see it last night. I've never seen a Bad Boys movie before. James has seen 2 many years ago. Packed screening.
Jam-packed. Lots
James,
of energy,
Bad Boys Ride or
lots
Die.
of booze. You know what? Surprisingly, not the worst film I'll watch this year.
No.
I actually thought it was a decent amount of funny. I think Martin Lawrence is having great fun in there, and I think therefore
the MVP, I think, actually.
That really sort of radiated out. Look, is it incredibly... I think if you've got a 10 or 11-year-old boy... Go and you think I don't know what a rating it is, but it's probably the best film for them. I'm just surprised that it was actually a lot funnier than I would have assumed it was.
Yeah.
The action is fairly solid. And I think the dynamic between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, there's this opening one where those two are at their best when they're in an unlikely situation at gunpoint when they're both trying to do very different things, but they end up being quite brilliant.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yes, that is Bad Boys. The overlapping dialogue, 2 people with great chemistry. that kind of works.
Yeah.
Is it really dumb? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really dumb. But of the other films I know I'm going to see this year, this won't go down as my worst film of this year. And that's my main takeaway. I thought it was surprisingly solid. Enjoy product placement from Skittles, Doritos, Snickers.
Yeah.
There's this thing where he can't have fast food because he's got a heart condition.
Yeah.
And so all of these fast foods just getting dropped in.
The irony that they're telling you they're unhealthy while also product
and
placement.
I just I appreciated that, you know, I don't think we would have covered Bad Boys for Life if we hadn't sort of got this invitation.
Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Sorry, Bad Boys Ride or Die if we hadn't got this invitation. But what I did appreciate was that the film's just about 2 hours long, and it didn't waste my time. It sort of moved through very few moments where I was bored. I just, you know, and it's medium funny. I definitely chuckled a few times. There's a lot of gags.
Yeah.
I don't really have many complaints. If you ended up having to watch it, you're not going to be bored.
I agree. I think actually, and I'll talk about this when I review Young Women in the Sea, but it was another exercise for me in, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. No film. There's a film for every time and place and moment. You know, every dog has its day. Every film has its moment. And I was watching it, and you're right. Solid action, solid laughs, and in a packed screening room, the audience were really going with it. They were hooping and hollering and cheering and laughing. And you know what? That's actually brilliant. I think we undervalue or underrate how exceptional that is to have that, because we talk about, is cinema dying? What's it like going to the experience? That's brilliant to have that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, because this is a really solid popcorn movie. This is really solid to watch on a plane as well. Like this is what it should be. And I think it felt right for the moment. I was, you know, entertained enough.
Yeah.
And that's it. No, I'm not above this movie. This film has its right time. I felt like the directors understood exactly what this IP and this franchise should be doing. It's like, okay, we'll do a little bit of that, a little bit of that. It's going to be silly, but not too dumb, but also not too serious.
Oh, if you want to just really switch your brain off, and I mean really switch your brain off, fantastic.
Yeah.
And also, surprisingly, for, you get these belated sequels 10, 20 years on from the original, it's rare that it really feels like the spirit of the first one. So it almost felt like watching a film out of time. Like when I saw Matrix 4, that really didn't feel like we had just watched a new Matrix film from that era. It felt modern and weird and strange, and something about it was really off for me.
Yeah.
Whereas watching this opening, I was like, oh yeah, this is bad. Like, this is Bad Boys. We don't really get many films like this. We're just jumping back in, but it's new.
I also didn't get the feeling that you often get when you watch belated sequels of like, cool, a couple of dads running around like they were in their 20s. Yeah. I didn't get the impression that Martin Lawrence and Will Smith were a bit doddery, you know, when they were running. I didn't think, these action scenes look a little bit strange. But like, no, they work.
And I didn't feel like they were just phoning it in, like sort of cash in. No. I felt like they wanted to do it. They went for it.
And as the only Martin Lawrence film I've ever seen, I can tell you it's the best Martin Lawrence film I've ever seen. He really did surprise me about how funny he was, and he's doing a lot of the good work to keep you in that film.
It's a lot of catchphrase, a lot of one-line punchlines. There's a lot of times I wish the camera would just stop fucking moving. Like just there's drones swooping in and up, and the camera is always transition. Even if it's just a domestic house scene, the camera's always moving. And I was like, can we just get a tripod once?
I know, but that's the key. That's the secret. Be playful. Be playful. Keep it moving. That's it. Keep it slick. We've got a place to be.
So it's exactly what you think it is, but not in a negative way. I think it's sort of fine fun. If you found yourself going to see Bad Boys this weekend, I really think you wouldn't have that much of a bad time.
I totally agree. If you have seen it, Bad Boys Ride or Die, let us know your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. So, brand new Star Wars series, The Acolyte, is out. I've seen 2 episodes. James has seen 4 and
episodes,
spoken to the talent involved. James, since you've been more involved in it, why don't you take it away?
Star Wars Acolyte is a TV show on Disney Plus set 100 years before the Skywalker saga in an era known as the High Republic, not the Old Republic, the High Republic. The main thing to know about it is that the Jedi are very much in their prime.
Right.
We do not know of what the Sith are. This is a period of Star Wars history where the dark side of the Force was very subdued and unknown. We meet a character called May, who is confronted by a couple of Jedis from Coruscant who have come to arrest her because Jedi. There has been a murder of multiple Jedi across the universe, and she has been accused of having committed this murder. It's a mystery. It's kind of like a sort of, you've got this dark masked figure who's making things, who's doing things from behind the scenes, and the Jedi are worried. We've got a character named Sol, played by Lee Jung-jae, who's former Padawan who left the Jedi training program, seems to have been wrapped up in this entire thing. And that's sort of all I'll say. It's a mystery. You can go on and discover that for yourself. It stars Daphne Keane, Amanda Stenberg in two twin roles, Manny Jacinto, who I got the chance to speak to, Rebecca Henderson, Charlie Bennett, Carrie-Anne Moss, who I actually think is very well cast as a Jedi in this show. It's created by Leslie Headland, who I actually got the chance to speak to with Manny Jacinto and sort of ask them all about this. This is a very exciting idea of getting to go back to a very untold part of Star Wars history and give context and lead in to what happened. Just on the look and feel of this show, I'll be honest, when I first got up the episode, bear in mind I got sent an advanced screener, so I am watching it on a laptop, but still fine. The first time I watched it, something about it felt different, felt a little bit cheaper, and the vibe that came into my head was naughty CW TV show. And I know you feel a very similar way about it being maybe a little bit overlit, something feeling not premium, not grainy, not cinematic.
Yeah, what I would just is that bizarre thing of it being very clean, even though it doesn't look uber expensive. It's just that everything looks like clothes are being worn for the first time. Sets have just been put up,
and that's not just like the Jedi Temple where it's meant to be sort of monk-like and sort of slightly clinical. It's more like other parts of it just don't feel
organic,
permanent and organic.
Yeah.
And like, if you look back and look at Star Wars, one of its best features about its design is that it feels old, dirty, rusty, used, like it's been existing for millennia before you started watching.
Which is why people liked Rogue One and Andor, because it had that kind of slightly desaturated, like 70s rough kind of
analog media,
feel.
Sort of use the kit you've got, not the new stuff. And my main takeaway when I was watching it, unfortunately, is that it's just very sleepy and uninteresting. And I'm surprised often with Star Wars how unexcited I can get about a limited series telling a story about an IP I really care about. And I think there's certain elements I like of it. I think Sol is an interesting character and he does well. I always enjoy seeing Carrie-Anne Moss. But it's just surprising. I've seen 4 episodes, not just one where I'm not quite convinced. I've seen 4 episodes and I'm not yet that interested in it beyond that, which is a real shame.
Yeah, the thing is, from the get-go, you've been slightly more open to this than I have. But I went along to the premiere and we watched the first 2 episodes. And yes, first of all, I had that experience with the aesthetic.
And by the way, the seeing it in a cinema really helped it. I think.
Oh, right. So,
like
exactly.
it would most things.
So I was seeing it in the best environment possible. Yeah. And for me, I just couldn't get past the aesthetic. I just thought this just doesn't look or feel right. I thought I really lost patience with that. I thought the dialogue was incredibly bad and expositional. Lots of people just telling me what had happened. Just a classic mistake of that person's that thing who a couple of years ago we did that thing. Thought, I thought this happened. No, she actually did this thing. I'm like, boring, so boring. Some really weak acting in there. Some really weak lines. Some really sort of no real actual sense of threat. The first scene in it is this fight scene with Carrie-Anne Moss, and no real sense of dread. Everything feels very soft and pulling its punches.
We're going to do a canteen.
And I just thought it doesn't look right.
You know what? Weirdly, the sort of disposable nature of some of the dialogue and the scenes reminds me of watching a very average series of 25 episodes from 20 years ago. You know, when shows were really long, we had a lot more time to do things out. And I'm always like, you've got a really shit-hot 8-episode limited series.
From the biggest media conglomerate on the planet.
With infinite budget, or not infinite, but like, this thing's expensive. Like, come on, compact it. Make stuff happen. Make it relevant. There's a number of scenes in like the 3rd and 4th episode where I just go, what was that? Boring. And we'll go to this planet now. And then we'll ask this person something. They're running away.
But that's exactly how I felt with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, really. And that was only 6 episodes. And even that I felt, they really stretched that out.
There were great moments in Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the middle...
don't get me wrong.
I think the ending of Obi-Wan Kenobi is actually really, really well done.
Would have been a better movie.
But like in the middle, you're like, really? Yeah. I think I said this to George the other day, this is what... annualizing your intellectual property looks like when you need to create yearly, whether it's films, TV shows, if it's Mandalorian, if it's this, that's what happens. It dilutes, it ever so slightly taints. The more and more Star Wars we make that isn't of a higher quality, the less special Star Wars feels, the less essential, the less important, the less urgent it feels to watch it. And I can't express enough how how when that first trailer came out for Force Awakens, I was never felt more rewarded for having been a fan. And I never felt this sense of urgency to really care and to want to see it. And that effect is just becoming a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. To the point where I should be really excited about a dedicated high-budget miniseries of Star Wars that I can watch week to week, and I'm just not.
It's a real shame. But that series is now out this week. Please go and watch it and let us know your thoughts.
I will finish it.
I mean,
and come back.
please let us know your thoughts. I mean, it'd be good to know if other people are feeling differently about it. But we went to that screening. We have like friends now we've met through doing these things who are real deep like sci-fi and Star Wars fans, and they are
bigger nerds than us.
People who. Like they came away equally as deflated. Really,
if you're not getting the nerds, then what?
What are you? This is the thing. I was like, what is this doing? For whom? For what?
I don't think it gets new people in Star Wars.
We talked about Alien Romulus in that Patreon episode, but it made me think when I was watching The Acolyte, I was like, I just wish actually like something really sinister and nasty would happen just to liven this up a bit.
Yeah.
I thought maybe actually they need to go the other way. Let's do like do an R-rated Star Wars film, like or a Star Wars series, just something with a bit of threat, like that. Nothing. Even you remember though? Is it the Wampa in Empire Strikes Back? The white beast, and Luke's like that's quite a threatening scene. Nothing ever happens like that. I feel like, anymore in these things.
Forcing you to like really sort of like be challenged by it. And then I remember speaking to Henry, friend of the show, and we were talking about theories over who that I find actually there's a masked villain in this show, which for the first 4 episodes turns up at the end of one of the episodes, and then again at the end of the 4th episode. And I just find the idea of a masked villain really cliche that's been done 1,000 times. Like Ugly Betty has done it. Star Wars has done it.
Ugly Betty?
Oh, yeah.
A masked villain?
It's just like a TV trope. You have like a masked villain in the shadows doing things to string you along.
Yeah, totally.
And me and Henry talk about like theories of who it could be, but then we just were like, well, actually, I just don't care. It's not giving me anything to really be that interested in it. That's not enough to put someone behind a mask to say scary things at the end of the episode for me to be like so compelled by it. As we said, that's just my 4 episodes impressions from me, 2 from George. We do have 4 more episodes which I can't watch, till they come out on weekly on Disney Plus. But I will get back to it. I do want to finish it because I've started it and I've given impressions on it. But so far, 4 episodes and I'm not into it yet. That's kind of quite telling, if you ask me.
That was The Acolyte. Let's just finish our reviews today with Young Woman in the Sea. And this is a new movie starring Daisy Ridley as Trudy Ederle, the first woman to ever swim the English Channel in 1926. Now, Trudy, as in Gertrude.
Yes.
Ederle.
Lovely name.
But written down, you wouldn't think it says that. It's Ederle. Now, I think what's quite interesting just going into this is that I was watching this film because I had an opportunity to speak to the director, Joachim Ronning, who's a very accomplished director. He actually made a film called Kon-Tiki, that was Oscar nominated for best film not in the English language in 2013-14. And then he's made films like Pirates of the Caribbean 5, and he's doing this, and he's doing the new Tron movie next year.
He made so much money doing Pirates 5.
Yeah.
I hope he bought a huge house.
Yeah.
A boat even.
So he met, he worked with Jerry Bruckheimer on that and on this, and next year he's making Tron Ares for Disney as well. But, I'll hold my hands up and say, a bit like when we talked about Bad Boys, when I was going to see this film, I thought, I think this feels a bit sleepy, a bit tame. Period piece, triumph over adversity. Yeah, there's a physical challenge, a single challenge movie.
Saw all its edges before you went in, maybe.
Yeah, and I thought, and it looked a bit Disney-ified, a bit like the edges slightly shaped off of it. I saw a trailer for it when I went to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I thought, And having seen it now, I think, again, it's a really interesting exercise in not judging a book by its cover and thinking of film. Every film has its place. But what is Young Woman in the Sea? So we begin in early 1900s New York, as I mentioned earlier, because of Joachim Ronning looking at Godfather Part 2. And it actually begins with this true life case I've never heard about of a steamship completely ablaze in the Hudson River. And this is a real life tragedy that happened in the 1900s. And Trudy Ederle, as a young girl, is looking out of her window. She's got measles. She's incredibly sick. And she's looking out at this burning ship right in the Hudson Bay. And it was a terrible tragedy in which over 1,000 people died, predominantly women and children, because they couldn't swim. And they were very close to the shore. If they jumped in and swam, they could have made it. But they didn't. And it was all in the newspapers. And Trudy's mother, who's very sort of headstrong, it basically says, you must learn to swim. This is very important. Trudy manages to get past the measles, but she always has this thing holding her back. So her sister, Meg, is able to go to swimming lessons in the pool, but they won't let Trudy swim because of her measles, because it can make her go deaf. So you have a situation where the mother is encouraging them to swim. Trudy must swim in the ocean, and Meg swims in the pool. This is also an era of intense patriarchal and oppression and societal sexism, which is just, you're reminded of, women at the beach showing a little bit of ankle and the police coming along to tell them to vacate because it's just a little bit too much. Really frustrating things like that. It's also...
What year again, sorry?
We're talking early 1900s, culminating in the early 1920s. Trudy Ridley is part of a German immigrant family, and they bring with that slightly older European attitudes about what you must do with the family and who you must marry and what a woman's place should be. However, Trudy is insistent. Anyway, she becomes a very good swimmer, and before you know it, she's winning races, and she's been invited to the 1924 Olympics in Paris, and is also obsessed with this idea of swimming the English Channel, because she does that thing where, in the olden times, where you'd go to the cinema and you just go to watch the news footage. That's how people would watch the news. Also stars Sian Clifford from Fleabag, Christopher Eccleston, Stephen Graham, and Kim Bodiner, who people will know from Killing Eve, who plays Judy's father. So it ultimately builds up to her wanting to swim the channel in 1926, which had never been done by a woman before, had been done by two men. And of course, it's an era when people say, a woman can't swim the channel, for goodness sake. And true enough that when she's training to swim the channel, she's not even given the same food as the men, because they say, well, you need to look good for the magazines, you must look good for the press. Completely infuriating, insane stuff. Look, it has its cheesy moments, it has its cliches, it has its bit of melodrama, but from the get-go, it's clear that it's very well made. I was like, Joachim Ronning is clearly a very good director here, because every opportunity to show good craftsmanship filmmaking, it does that. Those scenes in the water are very well done. The
Caribbean,
it works. I was just actually quite early on realised, I'm in quite good hands here. Very competent director. And you know what? When it gets to that third act, when it's to do with the swim, and particularly the last 20 minutes, there were sniffles in my screening room. There were tears, and I was actually surprisingly really moved by the ending of the film. Nice. And I was like, I love that when a film surprises you. And I just came out thinking, who was I to think that I was better than this film? To think that I was
awful.
But it's true. It's like, you really shouldn't judge things. Yeah. There is a film for every time. This film, perfect for a Sunday afternoon with a cup of tea. Yes. Okay, that's all it is. It's not the best film in the world, but it is better than you'd think. It has a really good moving, final third. It's got great supporting actors in it, and I was surprised. So don't ever write something off just because you don't think it's your film. I'm actually quite glad I saw it.
I'm really happy to hear that, because I would have also subconsciously maybe prejudged it and just let it pass me by.
Yes.
But to hear that it is actually very good, it has a real good place at a certain moment in time. Great. Yeah. As always, guys. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying because often we go see things in these screening rooms, sometimes you think, I just can't wait to get. And I thought, no, I'm enjoying my evening. I'm glad my evening is being watching this film. I came out feeling good, which is wonderful. So that is Young Woman in the Sea. Daisy Ridley, also great, and I'm glad that she's been able to sort of branch out of her career. A lot of the film was shot in the open water, and that's why I spoke to the director about, which you can see on social media. Shooting on the open water is very difficult, and Daisy Ridley trained for 3 months to be like an Olympic swimmer, and she's swimming in the open water, not in a wetsuit, but in like the 1920s fabric and exposed skin. So
I would have those like sticky heat patches.
Yeah.
all under my suit just to keep me warm.
That was Young Woman in the Sea.
If you guys had thoughts on, you wanted to also send in your review of Young Women in the Sea, please, as always, send in your thoughts, questions, concerns to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com, and we will read them out on the show. George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you wanted to send in your reviews of the films we cover, or films we haven't covered, or films you'd like us to cover, as always, send them in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. Ian writes into the show and says, hey guys, with email subject Furiosa Frustration.
Frustration.
He was Furiosa by the sounds of it.
There we go.
Hey guys, long time listener, first time emailer. Thanks, Ian. I saw Furiosa last week. Please check out our review from last week if you haven't already.
And broadly, we both liked it. Maybe me a little bit more, but
broadly,
thumbs up.
Really surprisingly great, with a few minor gripes from me, but otherwise fantastic. Go and see it. I saw Ian goes on to say, I saw Furiosa last week and was eagerly waiting for your review, as I usually get a good steer from your perspectives. I've just listened and couldn't be more surprised. I'm with Bevan on this one. I found this movie incredibly frustrating. Maybe for the first hour, I felt completely disconnected from the movie, like I was casually watching nondescript individuals going about their daily lives outside my living room window. While the action sequences and delicious cinematography were enjoyable at times, I always felt I was watching a movie and never once got lost in the story. First time I felt any sort of character depth with the scene was the scene towards the end, where Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth shared some great dialogue as we got to understand a little bit more of Hemsworth's story. I was craving this connection to the characters throughout, but those were the only breadcrumbs of a personality it felt like were given. While I enjoyed some of the performances, especially Hemsworth's, I didn't feel 1 ounce of realism in character behavior or relationships until this point. I also think that the abundance of CGI and the jolting chapter in this movie only contributed to this feeling as we jumped from year to year without any time or character development. I agree with George that the seemingly platonic relationship between Anya Taylor-Joy and Tom Burke's character was refreshing until it started to hint at more than that without any explanation or basis to that development. I got the feeling that Miller wasn't much interested in creating a movie that non-Mad Max fans would enjoy, instead opting for simply more of the revved up action sequences that drew in the cash from the previous movies. While I know there is nothing wrong with creating a movie for existing fans, I would just love to have had more connection to the story and have walked away without being incredibly frustrated. Thanks for all the laughs and great content. Every time I watch a movie now, I leave the cinema hoping that it's going to be in a PK episode so that I can hear your thoughts. Sirens on my end, literally as I type this, Ian in Chester.
Thank you, Ian.
Great email.
Respectfully, I do disagree with some of that. I would say that, well, first of all, you say you don't think it's a film that is open for non-Mad Max films to enjoy. Well, I saw it with my girlfriend who had no prior experience with Mad Max and she absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think there's plenty there.
When you say like the realism in the characters, I like the fact that it's kind of heightened and strange tone and there's this silly sort of pantomime-esque element to every single character. I don't need them to be sort of real and grounded.
And a lot of time you see the sort of shock of someone who's it's like our realism, the shock of this world is seen through the eyes of many characters. And I think that often is like the window into, isn't this just completely bombastic and crazy?
And I think when you say, I like the Tom Burke relationship, and I like, you say when it hints at something else, I don't think it hinted too much. I think we got enough out of that time.
Yeah, you could say it's underdeveloped, but also I think it's a world where there's no time for something like that to develop. And if just one thing goes wrong, like in this film, everything's over and you're basically alone again.
Yeah.
And it's just back to square one. There's something quite sort of random and compelling about that. But Ian, thank you so much for your email.
Thank you, Ian. Next email is from Emmy, who writes in and says, "Hey, George and James, niche, non-film related message, but it warmed my heart to hear you reminiscing about Brighton nightclubs last week. That was my peak Brighton clubbing time 10 years ago, and I agree that the Green Door store was the only place to go. Well, no, we did say the Haunt was also great. By the way, my girlfriend corroborated that Coalition never changed its name, but Audio and Digital changed their names, which I always get confusing because they sound sort of related.
Yeah, okay.
Emmy goes on to say, I think the seafront club with the dangerously low ceilings was Funky Buddha. Never heard of that.
Oh, God, I have heard that name before, yeah.
Which changed its name to The Tube and is now The Water Bear. I mean,
why do they think, what is all these rebrands?
Like Mad Max names. The Water Bear. Have you been to Gastown? Local investigators.
We are going to Funky Buddha for milk.
Bloody hell, have you been in
Funky Buddha?
The Argus, which is the local newspaper, did a deep dive report into the closed clubs of Brighton, which I've included here. Love the show. Emmy, still in Brighton, now too old for Green Door Store.
I wonder if just those clubs are not profitable, but like a new person takes it over thinking, well, if I rebrand it, surely I can make it profitable.
These students weren't here last year. They won't know.
They won't know. Just go back in. This next one is from Josh. He says, "Hi, lads. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for always keeping the pod super interesting." I should hope so.
Thank you.
I've really loved listening to your editorial episode, so keep it up, boys. We just did the best films from the 2010s. We summarised the decade 2 weeks ago, so go and check that out. I'm a huge fan of your impressions, particularly the Australian accent, which not many people can do well, and I think James's impression of Michael Caine is so good.
Just James's?
My question, we both do a Michael Caine. My question for today is, what is your favourite Easter egg in a movie? I know they're mainly in kids' movies, but when I was younger, I loved picking up on my little Easter eggs here and there. My favourite one was the Pizza Planet truck from all the Pixar movies. Those are good. And And there's a lot more in Pixar. There are loads of little, like I said, many YouTube videos about the shared Pixar universe you can check out. Another thing that I remembered recently were the Pixar bloopers. Holy moly, they were so funny, and they should definitely bring them back. Thanks, fellas, Josh. Yeah, that's a cute touch.
Yeah, I watched Toy Story 2 at Christmas, and the bloopers just wonderful. In terms of Easter eggs, I mean, we could be here all day, but there is one.
Did we ever do an editorial on the best Easter eggs?
No, we couldn't. But we could do.
We could do.
With a bit of planning. But the one that comes to my mind is when I was a kid, I used to watch Terminator, all the first 3 Terminators on repeat, and I spotted a VFX Easter egg, and it's so niche and it's not actually that interesting, but I spotted it. So in Terminator 2, the liquid metal guy, the whatever he is, he takes over he's the T-1000, takes over a police helicopter, and when he's chasing the truck they're in at the end, he punches a circular hole in the window and shoots out of it, right? It's very specific. Yeah. And in Terminator 3, stay with me here, people, stay with me. In Terminator 3, there's a bit where a helicopter, I believe Arnie crashes a Chinook helicopter into like a military hangar. Anyway, and he like hits the woman Terminator. As in Terminator 3, as that helicopter crashes into the hangar, there's one quick shot which shows the helicopter sort of spinning over. And in that one quick shot, the front of the helicopter is made to look like the helicopter in Terminator 2 with that circular hole in the window. Exactly. And it's not like that when you look at it afterwards, when they go back to cut to it, and it's not VFX, it's actually practical effects. Nice. So it's a minor thing that a VFX artist probably put in there. And in fact, there are loads of TikToks online about how VFX artists have dropped in little clues for lots of things. But that was when I was like, I don't know, 10, however, I went, oh, that's cool.
It's very common in games for developers to design little trinkets like paintings in walls in environments that tease their next game. So like they'll put a painting of a setting that is a game that's unannounced. And famously in Uncharted 3, in the opening bar fight scene, you can find a newspaper on the bar which has the headline, cordyceps virus spreading throughout thing. And it's like, you would just never think to check out this thing, but it was only, I think I was like 2 or 3 years later when The Last of Us came out that people were looking at Uncharted 3 and saw that they were essentially teasing that within the Uncharted universe, a cordyceps virus was spreading around, which is quite fun. Very good. And then Fincher loves a Starbucks reference in basically all of his films, doesn't he?
Does he?
Yeah, he's always put Starbucks in there.
Really? I didn't know. I've never heard this.
I think it's a famous one. So there's always, like in Fight Club, there's Starbucks cups. Even in The Killer, there was Starbucks in there.
Did you direct that episode of Game of Thrones where they put the Starbucks cup in?
Yeah. Ooh, Fincher directing Game of Thrones, that'd be fun.
Thank you, Josh, for that email. Next email is from Jade, who says, greetings from Idaho. Hi, James and George. Big fan of the podcast, all the way over here in the States. Every now and then I task myself with viewing an actor or director's entire body of work. I recently finished watching all of Matthew Good's films.
Oh, Matthew Good, great. Matthew is good, I call
Which is what I believe what the subject of this email is about. In the process, I found some real gems that I likely otherwise never would have seen. For example, if you haven't seen Silent Night with Keira Knightley, drop everything you're doing and go meet your new favourite Christmas end-of-the-world movie immediately. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Here we go.
Mr. Good has had some great performances, like his portrayal of Bob Evans in The Offer. Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite. I know you haven't seen it, but fantastic as Bob Evans in The Offer. Lord Snowden in The Crown. He's
very good in The Crown.
He's very good in The Crown. He's also been co-lead with incredible stars like Nicole Kidman in Stoker, which I still haven't seen. Sir Anthony Hopkins in Freud's Last Lesson, Colin Firth in A Single Man, Ben Whishaw in Brideshead Revisited, and he's worked with big directors like Woody Allen, Matthew Vaughn, and Zack Snyder. Given his work, his good looks and charm, and the fact that everyone in the industry appears to adore working with him, how is it that Matthew Good isn't a bigger star? Keep those editorial episodes coming and hit me up if you ever find yourself in the potato capital of the world. Did you know Idaho is the potato capital of the world?
I know Idaho.
Jade, Matthew Good.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be right at the centre if we did a follow-up episode to our underrated actors list, where he just feels like he's been silently, and like him and like Stephen Graham, who I think is getting more recognition now, but just very carefully, very quietly, being very good across really great actors in very good films. I think it's because he's quite sort of softly spoken and mysterious. Yes. He's not the loudest actor you'll ever see. But I agree, he's always been brilliant in things. I have seen him on some lists of like who the next James Bond should be, and they go Matthew Good, and you go, oh yeah, kind of see
probably
maybe
a bit older now. Yeah.
maybe a bit old, maybe a bit too skinny and scrawny, but I'm sure he could bulk up. But
I think it's, who knows the whirls and eddies of fates that dictate. I'm sure Matthew Good has probably been like an almost for many big roles that have come through. He might have been like the one guy that didn't get the thing. He's gorgeous, and he's
smouldering.
He's incredibly good looking, and he has a great voice. And my mum adores him.
He's kind of flirty, isn't he?
Yeah, my mum went to the cinema to see Downton Abbey 2. She's never seen the series, but she thought he would be in it. He wasn't, and she was mortified. Livid.
Unbelievable. PSA, he's not in it.
Does this have... She was like, not good. Thank you very much. Not good. Matthew Good, I would love to see him in more things. It was great seeing him in The Offer, but I'd love to have him have his moment again, because he's always been touching around. Watchmen is, he was in that, and then The Single Man, and then...
he's a great casting for your naughty, dense, limited series, isn't he?
And if he kind of has that soft kind of rasp to his throat. And if you want me to do that, that's great.
Cigarette acting.
Very good period actor.
Yeah.
He suits any sort of
throw him anywhere,
period, particularly like the 60s.
But I don't really see him on a Star Trek bridge for sci-fi.
No,
I think he's better off not on fantasy. I can't see him holding a sword. Can't see him riding a dragon. So I think period is his thing.
But I'd love to see more of Matthew Good.
I always wonder how many actors, because we sometimes hear about this 20 years down the line of Will Smith was going to play Neo in The Matrix at one point. I'd love to hear every year who are the actors who almost got cast as the role that was there. Who almost got cast as Paul Atreides in Dune. Because there would be big names around that.
Of course, there's always a second choice for every role out there.
And some of these people get picked up in other roles in the film, in the movie. But you always wonder how close were they? How advanced were the conversations? Was it because it went right or money talks fell through? I think that's so interesting.
Who was going to be Batman before it was Christian Bale? Who in the reboot?
Robert Pattinson. Who were the other people they wanted?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Cillian Murphy auditioned for Batman, which he knew he wouldn't get, but obviously got a role as Scarecrow. Next one is from Christy, who writes in with an email, Does the Dog Die? Hi, Pulp Chefs. I'm a huge film buff and really appreciate your podcast.
Pulp Chefs, by the way. That's a new one. Yeah. We're cooking up stuff in the Pulp Kitchen. I like it.
Serving up the films. I'm a huge film buff and really appreciate your podcast. Being a film fan and someone who cannot watch animals fictionally die, or literally, I run into challenges when a movie I really want to watch has this element. How many movies, as you can name off the top of your head, that the dog dies? This episode about Fallout reminded me of this because I heard...
No, can I just say... Christy says, your episode about Fallout reminded me of this because I couldn't make it through the second episode. The dog does not die in Fallout.
Oh, okay,
the dog is fine.
I think films historically, usually dogs were used as a tool to just get you.
Yeah.
They would always kill them off. And I think recently that has changed. Yeah. The cliche is that actually dogs are surviving. Yeah. Dogs are making it through. They tease you.
Yeah.
They make you think the dog's going to... They put the dog under threat, but nobody... It's uncool to kill the dog.
You could wipe out an entire busload of orphans and we'd feel nothing.
Done.
But a busload of puppies, one puppy...
Third act of Man of Steel, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
All of them. City. Yeah. I bet there are kids there.
The whole planet of the Earth, just gone. But if there was a puppy there, forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously...
how many movies can you name off the top of your head that the dog dies? Marley and Me.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend, big one.
Technically in a deleted scene, the dog in Terminator 2.
Homeward Bound?
No, they're fine.
They survive.
He gets the porcupine to the face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he limps over, doesn't he?
I think other than that...
There's loads. Must be loads.
But actually, this is quite a relevant thing that you mentioned this, Christy, because we filmed a Film Bites, an upcoming Film Bites that hasn't been published yet, with Hannah Townsend and Benedict Townsend. And Hannah Townsend told us that there is a website called Does the Dog Die? Yeah. And you can check whether your movie contains a canine trigger warning, whether the dog actually does make it to the end. So you can just, if you're unsure, go check out the website, Does the Dog Die? And this last email for this week is from, the email is from Archer, but it's signed off with Lawrence. So I guess I'm going to go with Lawrence.
Who is this man?
Lawrence Lorenz. Do you remember that from Hail Caesar? Lawrence Lorenz. It's Lawrence. No, Lawrence. Lawrence writes in with an email called Summer and Winter Movies. Hello there, lads. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. I'm currently working on a video essay about summer and winter movies. These can be films that are set in either season or just give strong vibes for a certain time of year. For example, The Hateful Eight is 100% a winter movie for me, whereas Call Me By Your Name is such a summer movie I can almost feel the rays of sun coming through the screen. Was wondering if you had any films that you think strongly fit into either category, and how to make the time of year and or temperature such a distinct part of the film. Love the podcast, and as always, keep up the good work. All the best, Lawrence. Lawrence, I love this email because I'm very much someone who thinks about films in this way.
Mamma Mia.
Yes,
Talented
that's a summer
Mr.
movie.
Ripley.
Yes, right, there you go. So
What about autumn? Because you like Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally is
yeah.
straight away in autumn. There's also The Witch, The Revenant,
Yes.
kind of foresty movies.
The Pale Blue Eye from Scott Cooper.
That's a winter movie.
That's a winter one.
The Thing is a good winter movie
Yeah.
because it's just surrounded by ice. I love it. I have spring, summer,
that's
winter,
great.
autumn playlists as well.
A good year with Russell Crowe as a summer
Summer
film.
movie. I'm thinking spring. What's a good spring one?
Is it like Finding Neverland?
That's sad though, that movie.
Saving Mr. Banks? Why am I thinking of like sort of old artists?
Why-
The story of artists. Why is that
Why
spring
not
for
Disney
me?
related? Like, springtime, frolicking through the meadows. Think of a spring meadow. I've not seen Big Fish.
Nanny
with
McPhee.
you and
Something in the garden.
Oh, sort of
Tom's
childlike.
Midnight Garden.
What a more
Spring. Well, maybe he's not asking for spring and autumn. He has said summer and winter.
Okay, well, obviously, loads of summer ones we've just said, but I would say The Thing.
Home
for
Alone.
winter- Well, this is what happens when I go home at Christmas. 'cause
Not just Christmas, yeah.
When I go home at Christmas, I'm the designated film putter-oner.
Yeah.
And I have
Which
to.
you love.
People
I bet you
don't
love
always
that.
want to watch a Christmas film, but they want to watch a winter film.
Yeah.
So most black and white old movies are great winter films.
Yeah.
But like The Thing.
I'm going to set a task. Can you guys
Yeah.
write in with specifically spring films? And I don't want it to be like the ending spring cometh. I'd quite like it to be springy. Is that the least definable season visually?
Well, no, because you dissociate it with. I'd say like blooming flowers and like you get rich green
Sexuality, like blossoming.
before you get the kind of heavy things kind of wilting under the heat of the summer. You kind of get blooming. You get crisp mornings. It's like it's still got a chill of fresh in the air, or maybe something set in like Tuscany. Like walking through the cloisters in the early morning.
I did say a good year with Russell Crowe.
I've not seen that. Thank you very much for your emails this week, guys.
George, should we play a game?
I'd love to play a game, but just remember before we do that you can write in your emails, your reviews of recent films to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. And if you were to sign up for our Patreon, you'd actually get priority access to get your email read out on the show. Don't get me wrong, that email still needs to be relevant, but you will get priority access.
Yeah, we're not just going to start asking about our,
family history.
first sexual experience.
Yeah.
Or you got to pay a lot more for that.
Yeah. that's the next year.
OnlyFans next year.
Let's
do it.
Let's play a game.
George, as always, Pulp Kitchen ends
With a game.
with our favourite game. We love to make it. You love to play it. We love to replay it and re-edit it and get it in. It is the sound game. I have chosen 8 sounds from films. These could be lines of dialogue, scores, sound effects, anything. And within a few seconds of a very short part of that clip, George has to tell me what film it is from.
I would just like to interject and say we've had great response to these games on social media. We do
Yeah,
love playing
people
it.
love them.
But I would like to know from any listeners out there if it's not working for them or like...
Oh, yeah, we're assuming you're enjoying it
Because
too.
obviously when we cut it for social media, we cut it in a different way. And obviously it's a slightly longer form game. But just, if there are any... If there's something you just spotted as a longer form listener...
I think even if one of us definitely has it, let's give it a few seconds for people playing at home to figure it out. Because I think sometimes we just know it, and sometimes we have very specific knowledge about these things. But George, are you ready for your first sound clip? I'm going to play them usually about twice, but if it's a real pickle, I'll give it to you. A third time.
Most weeks we give each other like four plays.
If it's really tricky.
Yes,
George,
please.
are you ready for your first sound?
Yes, I am.
You have to guess the film from this sound.
Riley is behind!
All right, so this is I can tell by your face that you've got it.
Yes.
This is one of the most famous jump scares in this filmographer's catalogue. George, what is it?
This is a clip that's very famous to us in Pulp Kitchen
Yeah.
that I know it happens in the film, but I only know specifically this moment because you've talked about it.
It's brilliant.
This is in M. Night Shyamalan's Signs,
Doing found footage in that sequence
Yeah.
before it was cool.
where Joaquin Phoenix is looking at
This,
the...
you won't believe this news clip coming to you live from Mexico,
And it's a children's
kid's birthday
birthday party,
party,
yeah.
looking down an alleyway. And I will say that the CG on this alien is very rubbery, but it just emerges from the bush and goes boom,
Yeah.
and it's totally an audio cue.
Yeah.
But Joaquin Phoenix, like us watching, goes, "Oh my god!" and jumps back. I'll play it for you one more time. It's a brilliant jump scare and an otherwise very sort of a much quieter film. It really makes you lean in. It's working.
Hearing a jump scare noise is even kind of alarming.
Yeah.
Without even seeing it. Just then I was like, oof, oof.
George, are you ready for your next sound?
I am.
Man went crazy, slashed the cop's face, cut off his ear, was gonna burn him alive. This cut?
George.
I know exactly what that is. That is from Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
That is Mr. Orange trying to explain to Nice Guy Eddie why Mr. Blonde is in the situation he is. Just getting around spoilers in case you haven't seen Reservoir
Yeah.
Dogs. And I know that clip because it's just before a line that Nice Guy Eddie says, which really makes me laugh, where he says, like, if you beat this guy long enough, he'll tell you who started the Great Chicago Fire, but it doesn't necessarily make it fucking so.
It's the great sort of just before the Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
What, this cop? Bah, bah, bah,
Yeah.
bah. What a way to walk into a room.
Yeah.
Who, that guy? Bang. Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir
George,
Dogs.
are you ready for your next sound?
I am.
You're not letting her go out like that, are you?
Cher, get in here.
What's up, Daddy?
What the hell is that?
A dress.
Says who?
Calvin Klein.
It looks like underwear. Go upstairs and put something over it.
So I wouldn't normally get that clip, but I've only got that because of the name of the character that is expressed by, I assume, her father, which would be Clueless.
Yes, very good. She's about to go on the date with this other guy, very smarmy, very cheesy, and young Paul Rudd is there. I'm like, you're really gonna let her go out like that because he feels jealous?
I haven't seen Clueless in a long time. I think I've only seen it
I've only
once.
seen it once years ago.
But I remember
Years
she was
and
called
years
Cher, and I know she has the iconic yellow patchwork, yellow plaid
Oh yeah, like very Chanel
suit.
Chanel suit. Yeah, very good. And the Calvin Klein thing, I thought maybe might direct people wrongly to Back to the Future, but
Oh,
who says
yes.
it Calvin Klein?
Yes, that's
But
true.
no, it is Clueless. One more time for those of you who didn't get it.
You're not letting her go out like that, are
Paul
you?
Rudd.
Cher, get in here.
What's up, Daddy?
What the hell is that?
A dress.
Says who?
Calvin Klein.
It looks like underwear. Go upstairs and put something over
It's
it.
very Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, that. So
Yeah.
it looks like underwear.
Looks
Go
like
upstairs and put
underwear.
something
My
in there.
God.
Yeah.
Long Island. Isn't that where they live? Long Island.
Long Island.
That's an American told me you got to pronounce the G. Long Island.
Long Island. George, you ready for your next clip?
Let's
you have
do
to
it.
guess the
Do it.
film from this sound.
Oh, well, that's a very famous piece of music.
Yes.
I want to say Mozart,
I believe you.
which makes me want to say it's Amadeus, but I don't think it is Amadeus. It's not Amadeus because you would have said yes.
I don't know what the exact score is, but you're barking.
The
up
movie's
right
not
tree.
Amadeus.
No,
Oh,
sorry.
that's what I'm
I
saying,
believe
I-
the scores. No, not at all.
This is Mozart's middle name.
Not at all. You picked up the music, and there were other sound effects in there
Oh.
that should give you a good clue to this moment. It's a moment.
Ah, do it one more time. I think I have it.
Yeah. He's got it. Hold on.
It's not Mozart. It's oh god, it might be Strauss. I don't know, but that is from Manchester by the Sea.
Yes, the moment, I'm not going to spoil it, but the moment of
Great moment, great
brilliant
moment.
drama about midway through that film. The clue was to contrast the classical music with the lines reaching for a gun. Brilliant, haunting scene, incredible performances from Casey Affleck. That is Manchester by the Sea.
It's Adagio in G minor. I don't know
course.
the actual composer, but it's a very famous piece of music. Yes, Manchester by the Sea. Great, heart-wrenching moment.
And his performance in that movie is very, very good, Casey Affleck. Why you want to be
So-
a cop? Want to be a
so
friend? So far, you're all.
I'm
you're
not
all-
doing too bad.
You are 4 for 4. George, are you ready for your next sound?
Bring it on.
You have to guess the film from this sound.
You take care of yourself.
Some guy named Harry.
Is it Pearl Harbor?
No, but you've picked up on something.
It's a war movie.
No.
Armageddon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
You weirdly picked up on Ben Affleck and not Bruce Willis in there.
Wow.
Which I think Bruce Willis has got more of a distinctive voice than Ben Affleck.
That's
that is the scene in Armageddon when
I've not seen it.
Oh, you've not seen Armageddon?
I've not seen Armageddon.
God, so
but I know.
Don't
spoil it
for
but,
you.
I mean, I think I guess
there's a switcheroo that happens, and Ben Affleck's not happy about it.
Yeah, but I could. It's weird how even that subconsciously, telepathically, I could tell
you
it
got
was
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I'll play that one more time for people at home.
You take care of yourself.
That's Bruce Willis.
I love you.
Harry, I love you! Don't Harry, wait a minute! I got my son! Don't do this, Harry! Don't do this!
Yeah, the film in which they thought it'd be easier to teach deep sea drillers how to use a spaceship instead of astronauts how to use a deep sea drill.
When someone pointed that out to Michael Bay, he's like, "Can you just shut the fuck up?"
It was Ben Affleck. Yeah.
Full marks so far. Full marks. Are you ready for your next clip? You
Yeah.
have to guess the film from this sound.
There will be no more pills. There will be no more bad food. No more destroyers of my body. From now on, it'll be total organization. Every muscle must be tight.
George.
That's De Niro's voice.
Yes.
And Taxi Driver?
Yes.
Yes. And
So
because of the score, I know that because of the score, and also it's because it's when he's getting that kind of mania of like, it's obsessive. There'll be no more this, the rigor.
Himself. It's an amazing
Uncomfortable.
shot where he's topless with his arm, admiring his bicep in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and he's just talking about like perfecting himself, and he's like getting ready. It cuts to him doing pull-ups on the pull-up bar.
But it's funny because-
holsters, gun in the holsters.
Yeah, but it's funny because De Niro, that could also have been Raging Bull.
Yeah.
It could have also been
Body thing, yeah.
King of Comedy, the tonally not so, but like again about being, very, very hyper-focused, and also Cape Fear. Could have also
Immediately
been that.
old audio there.
Yeah.
Young De Niro. I'll play it one more time. And the score, like the
Yeah,
one
Bernard
more
Herrmann.
time.
There will be no more pills. There will be no more bad food. No more destroyers of my body. From now on, it'll be total organization. Every muscle must be tight.
That's like me after a wedding. There'll be no more booze,
Yeah.
no more distraction, no more bad food.
Do you hear how I love how New York he is in that?
Oh,
Do you hear
he's
that?
so good.
Do you hear that? There'll be
like,
no more bad food. No
There's
bad
a
things.
rhythm, like it's not an iambic pentameter voice. There'll be no more this, and there'll be no more that.
No
I'm
more
going
bad
to be
food. Do you listen to
totally
me? It's not a
refined.
question. Do you hear me?
Brilliant.
Very good. Thank- that's-
What
I mean,
an actor.
how many left?
You've got 3 left. On this one, well, do you know what? I'll just let it play out. I'll tell you afterwards what I've done. You have to guess the film from the sound. I think these last 3 are harder, but you could get it.
It's just wind.
Listen
And it's
closely.
an eagle. Go on, give me one more time.
It's an eagle.
The ri-
All right, listen carefully.
is this turned up?
So I will say I boosted this audio a lot.
Okay.
To make it fair. Ready? Listen really carefully to what you hear.
That
Anything coming to
is
mind?
it something being eaten there? Or somebody moving? Someone's hunting?
No.
Because I can't hear. Is someone shuffling? Someone's moving?
Yeah, it's like a shuffle.
Is it the opening of a film?
No.
Is it a film I've seen
Yes.
with an eagle in it?
No.
There's a bird of prey.
No.
That's not a bird of prey. One
No.
more time. Give me that again.
I'll give you one last time.
That does sound like a bird of prey in the background.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is. That is, without spoilers, the final scene in the film Prisoners. You know the whistle?
Yeah.
So that shuffling, so I boosted the audio, so it's the whistle, and the shuffling you hear is Jake Gyllenhaal's head turning
That is
as he hears the whistle. It's niche.
I like it.
But
I like the way you
if
put it
you
in
know
there.
the film Prisoners, you know.
Yes, I
the
do know
whistle.
that. You're right.
That sound is probably
it's a famous
someone
sound
with
in
like
the
a
movie.
sniping something.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for
You
your
ruined
second?
my hot streak.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Sorry. Okay, are you? The key was, I think, because you went down Bird of Prey. If you'd thought a whistle, I think that would have got you to Prisoners. Great movie. Are you ready for your second last sound?
Let's do it.
George, you have to guess the film from the sound.
I don't want to kill you. I never did. And I don't want you to kill me. How do we gain? If you win, you lose a trade. If I win, I wait around for the next sword slinger thirsting to carve a reputation out of my hide.
So it's a long clip. It's a long
Sean
clip.
Connery.
Yes, unmistakably. So that's your first. So you can't. The reason why this is good, you could figure this out is because it's unmistakably Sean Connery.
Highlander.
No.
Last Crusade.
No.
The Rock.
No. I think you need to listen closer to the
Swing
lines.
a sword.
There you go.
Period piece.
Sure.
What? Swing a sword. Not.
This is niche, but I'm making them harder.
Have I seen this film? You don't know.
I'm pretty sure you have actually, because I think we've talked about it.
Is it the one he did with Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Oh, Entrapment. Great film.
A Sean Connery film. Hunt for Red October.
I'm going to play it for you one more time. And if you don't get it, that's fine.
I don't want to kill you. I never did. And I don't want you to kill me. How do we gain? If you win, you lose a trade. If I win, I wait around for the next sword slinger thirsting to carve a reputation out of my hide.
So it's not The Rock.
No.
It's not The Untouchables.
No. Hide. What do you say? His
Hide out of my hide.
What has a hide?
A pig.
You think Sean Connery plays big?
Where did you expect me to lead that? Carve
Okay,
it out of my hide. Carve it out of my. Is he an animal in this?
Yes.
Movie? He's an animal.
Yeah. But not an animal of this world.
Oh, is it like he plays a dragon?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hang on, what's it? Oh Christ! Hang on, didn't say it. It's called Dragonheart.
Yes.
Dragonheart.
From 1996,
Wow.
a knight played by Dennis Quaid has come to slay him, and he's obviously not succeeding. And he's like, to what end do we fight? For someone, another sword-slinging man is going to take it from my hide.
Wow, I think I've seen that
he's
once.
he's a full CG dragon. 1996 niche take, but I think Sean Connery is the clue, and then I thought I'll put something dragony, which is a hide, in there. So I'll give it to you. With help, you got it.
Yeah, but considering I don't think I've ever. I think I had it rented
In
for you from Blockbuster.
1996,
Yeah, when I
yeah.
was a kid. Jeez, wow.
Yeah. Your last sound, George. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. You have to guess the film from this sound. This is hard, I think.
So I changed it.
Sorry, mate. I know exactly what that is.
I thought, it's one of your favorite films.
Yeah,
or one of
yeah,
your
yeah.
films you've said you like very much, but it's...
It's Looper. But I'm not going to say
Yes.
when because I want
I'm
to
going to
spoil
say
it.
when. It is the moment by the
very-
end where he makes a decision to do a certain thing and
Which is
remove a
very
certain
interesting.
someone from a certain point in the plot.
I mean,
No, it's fine.
okay, James, sure. But yeah,
One
it's,
more time for people who didn't get it.
So I changed it.
It's quite Joseph Gordon-Levitt voice there.
Yeah.
So I changed it. But doing a Bruce Willis.
got it straight away.
in that.
Though. That's good. Okay,
Lovely.
That was Looper. I would say so. I got all of them but one. But one I did have your help with. But I did still get Dragonheart.
Prisoners you didn't get.
Oh damn.
But very, very well done.
Thank
Fun
you.
game.
Good name. Good
stuff.
sounds. Good sounds.
Guys, that was the game.
How did you
Thank
get on at home?
For listening to this episode
Were
of Pulp
you
Kitchen.
on the edge of your seats? Did you get a clean streak, or were you thinking Dragonheart, James? Come on.
It's hard. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday.
And we also post an episode of our Patreon exclusive episode.
It has
Double
just
Take
launched.
once a week. Don't forget to check that out, guys. We really appreciate your support. Head over there to the Patreon to see how we do things. And if you are signed up already, don't forget to use the Discord. And of course, as ever, please continue to like and follow and subscribe on social media and share us, sing us from the rooftops, engage with our content. Also, enjoy the fact that we're posting stuff that we don't post on here. Interviews and press junkets, film bites. It's great stuff. And events we go to.
Behind the scenes.
Questions
Me and
about
George
future
strutting our
episodes.
stuff on the red carpet.
Yeah,
We're
looking
there.
fine.
Got to.
Got to.
Got to put it out there.
So,
Tags.
thank you for joining us again for this week. I hope you guys have had a good week. I hope. I
Yeah,
really
it was a
do.
fun episode. I like that. 3 reviews.
Three
Spoiled.
reviews. Bish, bash, bosh.
And a Patreon episode.
Spoiling you.
See you next week, guys. Thank you so much.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.